Now this is insane. We've got a shooting mystery, a stabbing, and a potential Fed case being overturned. Matter of fact, insane doesn't do it justice. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to cover, so let's get into it. Tory Lanez was stabbed 14 times in prison by a Mexican inmate doing life. It was so bad they had to airlift Tory out the yard straight to a hospital. Word is, he took hits to the head, the back, and even suffered a collapsed lung. Tory thought it was over. He thought he was straight up out of here. Even with a collapsed lung, somehow God gave him just enough strength to tell his pops, if this is my last day, I'm at peace. I made good with God.
Did not suffer superficial wounds. He was stabbed 14 times, 5 times in his back, 1 under his left cheekbone. In fact, his jaw was open. He was stabbed twice in the back of his head, and the rest in his torso, arms, and in his chest. It may seem sensational, but thankfully, like Dr. King, it was close to his heart but did not penetrate. After that, he was being rushed to a facility nearby in a vehicle in which he said, and I quote, "Dad, I thought it was my last. And having made my peace with God, I said, okay, God, is this how it's supposed to end for me?" And God said no. God told him, "Do not give up," in the car, upon which he turned to the attending officers and he said, "You must get me to wherever is the closest place that I can get to. I'm bleeding out here. My boat," he didn't even know his lungs had collapsed. All he knows is that he couldn't breathe. He could hardly speak. Upon which the officer turned around and looked at him and said, "Nah, we got to take him. He has to be airlifted."
Everybody's got their own theory about why Tory got poked up. Pause. Some of it wild, some of it real calculated. Even at the press conference, it got messy. His lawyers was there, his pops was too. And even still, Roc Nation's name got brought up. Come to think about it, obviously Megan's as well. But before we start unpacking the power plays and the politics, let's get to the root of the problem. Who ran that blade in Tory? So boom, dude who did it? Named Santino Sonny Castillo. Now here's where it gets weird. As soon as it happened, the Mexicans came out quick like, nah, that ain't us. He's rogue. Basically distancing themselves, like Sonny was just some off-code wild card who spazzed on Tory for no reason. Word is, they said that to keep the yard calm and avoid a full-blown race riot. Now, in my opinion, there's only one thing worse than being stabbed 14 times and having your lungs collapse in prison. And that's being stabbed 14 times by a PDF file. Sonny's not new to violence. He was already in for life. Caught a murder charge after he shot his year-old girlfriend in the face with a shotgun over some argument. But here's the nasty part. The paperwork says folks around him knew he was living with a young girl. His cousin Ruby Perez testified that Sonny, his underage girlfriend Evelyn, and others were all shacked up at her apartment. The night of the murder, Ruby and her friend Elena Gonzalez, who's also related to Sonny, stepped out for a smoke. Right after, boom, shotgun blast. They run back in, and who do they see? Sonny running out the spot, pale like he saw a ghost, mumbling, "I gotta get out of here." Said he looked like a damn zombie. This man already had 2 attempted murder charges on his jacket. He stabbed other inmates in prison before Tory even got touched. So why was he still moving around free on the yard? That's the real question. Unfortunately, I've been on several yards before in the past, and look at me closely. That is not a flex. People don't understand that Tory was at Tehachapi. That's an S&Y yard. They send violent offenders, PDF files, PCs, everybody, in a mix of trying to desegregate the jails. Its incentive for you to do so is if you actually have violent crime, you only do 50% of your time. But if you're a regular inmate who just doesn't have a violent crime, you do 33% of your time. That's why it's called S&Y or a 50-50 yard. But if you're like me, most people opt out of doing that because of the people on that yard and the fact that there is no rules. Because to be honest, when you have no structure on a yard, things like this tend to happen. Now, to me, the most interesting part about this is that as soon as it happened, a whole bunch of Latino creators jumped on the internet and started spewing wild claims. One YouTuber even said that the person who stabbed Tory wasn't even Mexican. Some people were just saying that Whack 100 made it all up to stir up tension between the brothers and the Mexicans. Another YouTuber even said that one of Tory's own people stabbed him. Like, come on.
It wasn't no Mexicans. It wasn't. I'm not gonna make this video super long and stretch the truth out because the truth is the truth. And I don't know too much of of detailed information, but I know it sure was not no Hispanics. So whatever Whack 100 is saying, he's spinning the narrative, maybe trying to cause friction between the brothers and the essays, whether it was the Northerners or Southerners, it doesn't matter. I feel like, how is that man always the first one to know information? Am I right or am I wrong? How is he magically somehow the first one that knows everything? So with that being said, they told me it wasn't no racial shit. It was one of Tory Lanez's own people, one of his own races. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a riot. It wasn't nothing that happened inside of a dorm, which can only mean he's on the 1 and 2 yard. But I just want to clear that up with you guys and like this video.
Now you see what I'm saying? Bro just really jumped in front of a camera, hit record, and then lied, trying to go viral. Said it was no Mexican that did it. Said it was a backdoor by Tory's own people. Pure cap. Now folks were online running with fake narratives like Tory brought it on himself because he talked to that inmate's wife during a visit. Cut it out. Y'all really out here lying with confidence like it's a sport. This really needs to stop. This clout chasing has gotten out of control.
Once again, please allow me to give you guys yet another update, right? Because I did my background check. You can check out the full video on Renegade Media on YouTube. But this is the suspect that stabbed Tory Lanez, right? In Tehachapi State Prison. And I already explained why he stabbed Tory Lanez for disrespecting his wife at visit, saying a couple, derogatory words on the tier about his wife. And the man took initiative to defend his wife and stab another inmate. That's why I said it's not really going to be a racial war. And if it does happen, so be it. That's in prison. But I always said it was personal. But let me tell you guys why he's in prison.
Now let's be real. Tory Lanez is a multi-platinum, multi-millionaire superstar. I'm sure he's got IG baddies stacked on his visiting list trying to come see him weekly. You think that Tory really is checking for somebody that's coming to visit Castillo? Stop. I don't even sound like Tory. No disrespect to any Latino in my comments or the YouTuber that said it, but I'm not buying it. And now at the press conference, Tory's people hint that Roc Nation or Megan might have had a hand in this. Yeah, it's getting wild.
Recently, we've been made aware that a member of the media, Mr. Gianno Caldwell, was working on an op-ed for the New York Post regarding Mr. Peterson's innocence. During his work on that op-ed, he became aware of some information in Unite the People's possession regarding a statement that was given to Unite the People by someone with information relevant to that case. The New York Post recently reached out to the prior district attorney, George Gascon, Megan Pete and her representatives, and Kelsey Harris and her representatives. The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell.
Now, if Megan wasn't tied to Roc Nation, I'd totally laugh off the idea that she had anything to do with it. But when Jay-Z's involved and his right hand is Desiree Perez, you know who I'm talking about. The woman who snitched on a whole cartel and is now for some reason running part of the whole rap game. You can't ignore the politics. She's allegedly got a vendetta against Tory. She's powerful, protected, and feared. The press conference hinted at all of this without naming names. And while it's reckless to accuse without proof, it does make you think. And in that messy Megan, Tory, Kelsey triangle, Kelsey's ex-bodyguard is saying that she confessed to firing the gun. And then that the whole situation is built on lies, power, and silence.
Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Ms. Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun.
Now, when they announced the so-called bombshell that could free Tory, I thought we were going to get some real proof, like an actual video of Kelsey doing it. Instead, it was just an ex-disgruntled employee who just said he heard her admit it to her husband over the phone. That ain't enough. Courts won't take that seriously. Matter of fact, I believe that's just called third-party hearsay. Kelsey got full immunity for a reason. She clearly played a role. But this ain't the smoking gun they think it is. All it's doing is shifting public opinion. Not the case.
This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw two women fighting, two men break up the fight, one man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Miss Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Miss Pete, did not shoot at Miss Pete, or did not assault Miss Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson.
Unfortunately, I don't think Tory getting out of this case off hearsay alone. There is a petition though, and if Gavin Newsom want to clear up his image in Cali, this might be his shot. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a YouTuber and a TikToker. But at least I'm not on here making stuff up just to go viral. There's literally a whole cult in my comments mad that I'm not going with their narrative. But sorry, I don't push fairy tales. On Ink Tea World, we don't do rumor talk. We bring facts. They either come from the court documents or from the horse's mouth. Not somebody who's just gonna say, my primo knows a Serrano on the SNY yard. Unfortunately, you gotta miss me with that. Sorry, not sorry. But if you made it this far, click the left side of your screen to see why Cassie's testimony might not have hurt Diddy as much as they wanted it to. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share to be aware, put me in that algorithm because I need to be there, man. Because I know there's 10 other streamers out there doing it like me, but...
Fuck that little 10!
I'm maxed out!